Part 1. Self-directed learning. Why consider self-directed learning in the first place? There's many reasons. Our world is changing quickly, and we need 21st century teaching strategies to keep up. My province, British Columbia, is integrating a new curriculum that gives educators a lot more room to implement forward-thinking pedagogies. There's never been a better time to try something new like self-directed learning in the classroom. Our youth need to learn to direct their own learning in a world increasingly saturated with information. To accomplish this, educators need to get educated about what self-directed learning, from now on SDL, involves. Furthermore, SDL can help students make their transition from elementary to secondary or secondary to post-secondary schooling go much more smoothly. SDL research has shown that SDL learners are more effective learners in all areas of life. And finally, SDL can help students with learning challenges grow in their awareness and learn strategies and processes to help them overcome potential roadblocks. So what is self-directed learning then? In its simplest conception, self-directed learning is the process of an individual having the primary responsibility for planning, carrying out, and evaluating their own learning experiences. We can also consider it in contrast to other directed learning, which is learning that is externally regulated. This is learning that we're more commonly used to in the classroom with the teacher directing most of what goes on. It's also helpful to think about this on a continuum. If on the left-hand side we place teacher direction, as we move to the right, we see it shifting towards oversight, self-regulation, and finally ending at self-direction. As you shift from one end of this continuum to the other, the amount of control over learning changes, as well as the amount of freedom one has over their own learning process. In a much broader sense, SDL is a complex metacognitive process requiring a combination of strategies, mindsets, beliefs, and opportunities to function successfully. It's not something that can be injected directly into a learning process just once, but rather a way of approaching learning itself that requires deliberate integration over a long period of time. It must be scaffolded, iterated upon, and practiced. It must be understood, accepted, and autonomously integrated by the practitioner. Since each of these concepts that help define SDL are nuanced in and of themselves, there will be a more in-depth exploration of them later on in this presentation, and a much more in-depth exploration of them in the paper itself. It is important, however, to make sure we understand the difference between self-directed learning and self-regulated learning. Self-regulated learning involves many of the same things we've been talking about. However, it allows for the learning task to be generated by the teacher to provide a clear goal that might be connected with the curriculum being explored in a course. Self-directed learning is more broad. It allows autonomy for the student to determine many or perhaps all of the broader targets and goals in the learning process. Because of this, self-directed learning can be thought to encompass self-regulated learning. This also means that students typically must learn how to self-regulate prior to learning how to self-direct. There are many theorists and researchers who have constructed models that aim to describe self-directed learning. I have selected 3 of the more mainstream models to help represent the diversity of thought surrounding SDL. If you're curious to learn any of them in particular, follow one of the links below. If you'd rather skip ahead to a summary of SDL models, click the bottom right link to jump to the next big idea.